Shapiro from Toronto Police Traffic Services, and you are joining us for Ask a Traffic Cop. Actually, this is a unique or a less common Ask a Traffic Cop because we start at 9:30, specifically so we can join Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010 and talk about traffic and hear from his listeners, whether by text or by phone, and answer the traffic and police questions. We've got a bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about today, and we will start off here, and then we will transition into our regular. So at 10 o'clock, we'll be off the air with News Talk, and we'll get back into our regular scheduled Q&A stuff. But we've got lots to talk about. But again, starting off with Jerry Agar, and let's just say here, okay, we're ready to go when they are. Just going to send them a message. Whenever you are. Let's see here. Okay. And I'll just check to see what they're talking about.
Go to getleo.com.
We can hear them. They're in commercials. So as soon as they're ready, we are going to jump into it. Now, I can spend a few minutes in the chat room before we actually are ready to go live, because I saw St. John's, Newfoundland said hello. I noticed that. Actually, first comment in from Pauline. How you doing? Jay Dizzle wants to know what my favorite cop car is. Well, my favorite cop car is actually a motorcycle, but it's I don't really have I used to like the Crown Victoria. That was all right. I see folks jumping in already from Twitch and YouTube. So I should mention the fact that we're on TikTok right now. That's our number one, our favorite group of people, always on TikTok. But we're also simulcasting on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I will say that Twitter doesn't allow your questions to come through. So if you're watching us on Twitter, please hop over, switch to YouTube. You can get us at Traffic Services Toronto Police and subscribe, because we'd love to hit that 1,000 mark. We're really close, like 963 last I checked. Chazzy, really? It's Chazzy? Okay, Chazzy. Thank you. Chazzy jumped in from YouTube and finally has properly given me phonetics so I can properly pronounce their username. Rob Baker with a good morning, and Ryan Pinn, good morning. How you doing? Ryan Pinn is a driving instructor out in Nova Scotia who's a friend of the show. Comes out and says hello on a regular basis. We got to get you live on the show, on a stream. Let's see here. Is it true that Ontario is bumping up the highway speed? They are bumping it up on certain stretches of certain highways in the GTA. That's like 16-kilometer stretch that goes to 110. That's about it, at least the ones that I've checked. Okay. We will be bringing up some questions to chat about on air. So maybe we'll talk about the e-bike question. I'm going to write it down right now because we are just waiting to go live. We've got 2 minutes, or actually probably less than 2 minutes now. So I'm going to make me a note. Question of the 1,000-watt e-bike. Okay, I like that. Because Jerry will get some questions from his audience. We'll ask for some TikTok questions. So we're going to do. Someone actually spammed spam. Or maybe they're commenting that there is spam. 444 people in the room. My name is Sean Shapiro. It says so right on the screen. And 60 seconds till we're live with Jerry Agar. So we will be jumping in. I gave my... What is this? My gerbil PTSD says, good morning, my fellow Canadian people. Good morning. Can you drive alone the G1? No, you can't. That's another good question to bring up. Okay, we're going to go silent for a second and jump on to listen to the tail end of the commercials and be ready to go with Jerry. 30 seconds. We are ready.
All right, stand by. Coming up less than 30 seconds away. Let's have a great half hour.
Going to be fun. Always is fun.
Well, yeah, some restrictions apply, not available in Quebec. Hello. All right. You're going to want to tune into this weekend's radio show, Sean, because it actually coincides with our podcast this week. The question is, do you squat or sit? The answer will change your life. And we speak to somebody whose lederhosen was stolen.
Lederhosen, that's a crime, truly.
Right. It is, Stevie.
You're listening to the Jerry Agar Show on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Welcome, and thanks for being along. And with me is the TikTok traffic cop, Sean Shapiro, at Traffic Services on TikTok. Yes, because I was also looking at some other social media thing you have. You're all over the place. He's everywhere. We join in on his TikTok broadcast and double it up here from time to time. So, Sean Shapiro, welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
Last time we spoke, we were talking about something that was kicking off right when you came on, and it was a speed kill safety blitz last week. What happened? How did it go?
Oh, well, it depends on what you consider good. We had a lot of vehicles stopped, a lot of vehicles, drivers that were charged, a total of 7,373 charges laid. So that's
wait a minute. Say that again.
7,373 charges that were laid over the 1 week period. So that's either really good because we got a lot of tickets issued, or really bad because people are choosing to do really dangerous things behind the wheel.
Yeah, I guess. But
Yes.
that's over how long a period of time?
That was from the 11th to the 17th, and just to give you some context, the breakdown is 4,142 speeding tickets. Of those, 30 were for stunt driving. So that's it could have been doing 40 over in an area that had a speed limit under 80 kilometers an hour, or 50 over in an area that had over 50 kilometers. 50 kilometers over an area with speed limit of 80 or more. There were also 1,152 aggressive driving charges. That's driving charges like careless driving, disobey stop signs, traffic signals, and so on. And then finally, 213 distracted driving charges, which actually I thought was kind of low.
Okay. So do the police consider that to be a success?
Well, the fact is we have gone and touched that many people who were choosing to drive in an unsafe way. And hopefully that will change driving behavior and in turn make the roads safer. The whole goal of issuing a ticket is to change that driver behavior going forward. So I think it was very successful. Unfortunately, we've been standing up talking about this. We were on your show on the first day of the campaign. We were in the media all over the place. And despite saying, hey, we're out there and we're looking, people still chose to drive dangerously.
All right. And do you get attitude from people? Do most people just accept the fact that they were speeding?
I think people get more upset with parking tickets, as my friend Aaron Urquhart will tell you, than they do with getting tickets, because very often they understand that they did what they did to cause the ticket to be issued. But there's no one likes getting a ticket. We appreciate that. It's part of the reason they get tickets, is so they have that not so fun experience and don't want to do it again.
Yeah, I've had occasions when a police officer says to me, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And I say, "Yes." I mean, yeah, I'm not stupid. I know what happened here.
But when I was on the road, I got tons of people who would tell me they weren't doing whatever it was that I thought they were doing. I was just totally wrong.
Well, is that possible?
Not in the cases where I pulled them over, because when they had their cell phone, or I watched them typing for 30 seconds, and then they say they weren't doing what I said they were doing. They just didn't want to take responsibility for their actions.
All right. So one listener has a question about what is the law when it comes to reflective clothing on cyclists or motorcyclists, scooters, etc.
Well, it's not a law. It's not a requirement. It is a great idea. It is a way for you to take part in your own safety, because while we like to say that the drivers are responsible for everything, anything that you can do to make yourself more visible will in turn make you safer, at least to some degree. But there's no law requiring it.
Okay, because some people do have, I've even seen people just take reflective tape and put it on their jacket.
There's even sprays that you can get now that you can spray everything down and you'll glow like a Christmas tree. It's quite amazing. I have reflective stickers, decals, Canadian flags on my vehicle. I love it. Anything, and if you look at a police car, we have stickers everywhere, even dots that take the entire profile of the vehicle to make it more visible when you're looking at the side of it. So we're taking great steps to make sure we're visible, and that should be a hint. It's a good idea.
Okay, do you have those Hello Kitty stickers?
I haven't got those. They're on order, though.
All right, well, good luck with that then. All right, here is James from Oxford. What's your question?
Hey, Jerry, good morning, panelists. For our esteemed expert, I would like you to bring clarity to the audience for the little nugget known in the Street Racing Act about making an advanced acceleration at a signalized intersection when it turns green and you're waiting for the guy across the intersection to go, and you can't wait. You make the left in front of him. That's street racing, and a lot of people don't know about that. Maybe you can bring some clarity to us.
Certainly. So what your caller is asking about is if you're at a signalized intersection, you're waiting to make a left turn, the driver is going straight, hesitate, and someone does what we normally call a jackrabbit start, where they hammer the gas and turn left before the flow of traffic gets to cross that intersection. That is stunt driving. That's specifically listed as stunt, and it would be the same as if you were speeding at 50 over. You're going to lose your license for 14 days. Lose your vehicle for 14 days and your license for 30, not to mention whatever happens in court afterwards, because there's subsequent consequences later. But you're absolutely right, caller.
All right, thanks for the call. Here's a text message that reads, ask the good officer why it is legal, or I guess if it is, for Uber drivers, etc., to have all of their electronic gear plastered across the windshield?
Well, the simple answer is it's not. First of all, you can't obscure the driver's view, so you can't put things in your windshield that prevent you from seeing through the windshield. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Or it makes a lot of sense that you can't put things in the window, I should say. But additionally, they can't use their cell phones. They're not taxi drivers, and taxi drivers can't either. They just have different interfaces. There's a one-button accept thing for a taxi. When they're pulled over, they can use their devices, but you can't be using a handheld communication device even if it's for a Uber purpose.
Somebody just wrote in, give me the sermon or give me the ticket. Not both. You're not my mom.
Well, and people can take the ticket. I don't need to give people a speech, although sometimes you get the speech instead of the ticket, but that depends on the day.
Okay. I get where this person is coming from. I would say back to the person, take the ticket. Don't give the attitude.
Attitude will usually create it will ensure that there's a ticket as opposed to because very often people will be pulled over, and if it's a minor situation, we can have a conversation, and not every conversation has to result in a charge. But when people turn around and say, "Don't talk to me, just give me the ticket," well, I'm happy to oblige.
Okay. I had a situation on my motorcycle, and I've been very upfront about how I think the speed limit is ridiculous on one of the streets near where I live. It's way too low, but I know what it is, okay? So I got pulled over on my motorcycle because I was over that speed limit, and the guy showed me on the radar. I wasn't doubting it. I wasn't arguing it, but I think the fact that I pulled over, I took my helmet off right away, and we talked, and I didn't argue it. I didn't even say, I think the speed limit on this street is stupid. He basically said, look, I'm just giving you a warning. I'm not trying to ticket everybody here. I'm just trying to slow traffic down.
Yeah, every officer is going to be able to employ their own discretion. Depends on how much you were over. Depends on how that discussion goes. It might be an educational interaction, and they may end there.
Someone asks, what if it's a loaded transport truck that takes a while to get moving? Can you turn in front of them?
No, you still can't jackrabbit. You still need to wait your turn. This is in terms of the concept of turning left in front of traffic waiting to go straight. So no, you still can't. It doesn't matter how long it takes someone to go. You're not entitled to jump the line effectively. It's not safe. Additionally, the vehicle beside them might be going, and they may be able to accelerate much more quickly, and then you'd be causing that collision.
Now, here is Mark from Brampton. Mark, welcome. What's your question?
How's it going? Yeah, my only question is, I know we're not allowed to use cell phones and the touch screens on cell phones, but a lot of new cars these days come with these giant screens in your car. And would you get a ticket if you happen to use your screen in your car? Because I know the screens sometimes you can change even the temperature in the car, radio, navigation, all that stuff. It's kind of all integrated into that screen.
It's a great question.
For using that screen.
It's a great question, and it's not illegal to use the screen. Those interfaces replace what used to be a physical button or switch or lever. Obviously, it could be distracted driving if your focus is on playing with the screen instead of driving, but it's not distracted driving, which is very specifically using a handheld communication device, and that doesn't include the screen in your car. But I would say that obviously you should be cautious and not use that when you should be focused on driving. But if it's a giant button that says make your seat warmer go on, you're entitled to do it. Just keep your focus on driving.
All right, thanks for the question. Coming up, actually, it's a pretty funny text message here I'm going to try out on you, Sean. So we'll have that. And also this question, if the police can see that I'm insured in their system, why do I have to show proof on paper? That's a couple of things we'll take up, including your calls next on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Okay, we're going to go and put News Talk in the
9:45.
back room because they're going to run ads for about 5 minutes, and we'll continue to chat here about stuff and things that matter to you. So in that 5 minutes, let's grab a question in the Q&A. Do other cops say that you're hiding from real work? I love this question. And I got to tell you that police officers from my service and services across Canada have reached, actually in the United States have reached out because they like what we're doing. They appreciate that's what's going on. And they actually want to mimic it for their police services. I had a copper call me from Chicago, and they said, this is awesome. How do we do what you're doing? So not only are we being appreciated, and they want to do the same thing for their community. I've had a lot of people come by and say, I want to shake your hand, you're doing a good thing. So it's been very, very positive. I have one person, and you know who you are, who said that this is a joke, but that's one person, and they were trying to be funny. It wasn't fun. No, it was funny. Additionally, you should know that I'm here and not on the road because I was injured on the road. I was involved in a motorcycle collision a number of years ago. I have not made it back onto the road yet, but I do hope to recover to the point where it's safe for me to go on the road. And I mean safe. Being a police officer is a physically demanding job. You have to be able to. I said to be able to. Anyway, you have to be able to be safe to protect yourself and to be responsible and protect others. I don't think I can do that safely right now. When a flight of stairs is giving me a hard time because of my injuries, running after someone who needs to be chased is not a good place to put me in that situation. But yeah, it's been very positive, and I appreciate the question. Okay, let's go here.
Here's one.
Okay, what's up?
Is it actually illegal for a police car to hide while checking speed?
No, it's not. There is no requirement for us to be plainly visible. In fact, I've parked my car a block away and walked up to a street corner because I don't need a car to be a cop. Just being able to be where I need to be and see what I need to see. And at the end of the day, my authority doesn't come from that car, and the car's visibility isn't required in part of the scenario. But it's a good question. I will say that if it's on private property, I like to get the permission of the owner. But beyond that, it's not, I don't believe, a requirement. It wouldn't change your ticket. Any other great questions while I fill up my water?
A lot of people in chat are saying that you have an amazing radio voice.
And oddly enough, we're on the radio today. No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. If I hadn't been a cop, I would have probably not been. No, I would probably be trying to become a radio guy, but I don't know. I never. This was a very unplanned thing, but I do appreciate the compliment. Here's a good question. G2 expiring and no tests available. What to do? The answer is, if it expired March 1st, 2020 or later, your G2 is currently remaining valid until December 31st, 2022, this year. Yeah, the end of this year, you're good to go. I would still work very hard to get a test date because you want to get that G before it's gone. But you have till the end of the year, so good luck. I hope it works out for you. What can I expect as a student bylaw officer? I actually have no idea what you can expect. So I've never worked as a bylaw officer. I just met somebody from our parking enforcement office who just took a job as a bylaw officer. So maybe we'll get him to come back and talk to you about his experiences. But unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you. But enjoy your time as a student. If you're doing the co-op deal and learning all about it, I think it's a great experience that you'll be able to come on and tell us what it was all about. But seriously, a co-op and opportunities like auxiliary or volunteerism give you an opportunity to see what a job's all about before you actually commit to it. Is it legal to wear headphones while driving? Yes, it is. On Ontario, you can wear headphones covering both ears. It's not against the law. It's not the safest option, though, so I wouldn't endorse it or suggest it. But you can do it. Let's see here. Akela Dracona says, greetings and salutations. And I don't know what Wakanda wants to know. We'll have to come back to that later. We're just getting ready 60 seconds before we're back on the air with Jerry. We'll be a little looser on time after the 10 o'clock hour because in 11 minutes, Jerry goes back to his routine and we get back to ours where we get to focus on you guys, our community. Here we go. Oh, this is a good question about alcohol. Maybe we'll talk about that. The silence is deafening. Any moment now, we'll be back.
Not golden?
Silence.
All right, stand by, boys and girls. Here we come.
Here we go. We're quiet for a second.
Jerry Agar Show continues on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And with me, Sean Shapiro, the TikTok traffic cop. He's at Traffic Services on TikTok, broadcasting every day. And we dip in every couple of weeks and spend some time talking about traffic issues, the law, etc. And Sean, we were talking about people getting tickets versus warnings, that kind of thing. And somebody sent a text message here that says, my buddy, when the cop came up to the window, said, just give me the ticket. And the cop said, well, I was going to give you a warning, but yeah, I'll be right back with your ticket.
It's 100%. It's amazing how just being polite goes a long way. Not to say it'll get you out of every ticket, because obviously dangerous things gets tickets, because we need to record these things. It's important. But someone who's being polite, it goes a long way.
All right. Now, a person asks, if the police can see I'm insured on their system, why do I have to show proof on paper? First of all, do you see it on the system?
So we have access to the ministry where there is a checking system that gives an idea. It gives us an idea as to whether or not it's been confirmed, but it's not necessarily up to date. It also relies on humans, which often make a mistake. So we still verify on our own. You still are required by law to provide that information on demand, and that can be an electronic copy if it's recently changed. You can provide an electronic copy if the company you have insurance with supports that. Otherwise, the pink slip's still required. But if we have that hint on our system that you're insured, we're still going to check. It doesn't. Nothing is foolproof and nothing is perfect yet.
Yet you're working on it.
Working on it.
If perfection is the goal, you'll at least achieve the good, I guess. This happens every time. People write in and they say, well, where are the tickets? Because they see somebody who should have got a ticket. Here's what would not be perfect. If we had a cop every 100 yards down every road, but we don't want that. We can't afford that. It's not a way to run society. People get away with stuff. It just is.
I think that when people realize that we're out there and what we're trying to do, which is to keep the roads safe, and if there's a healthy respect for the law and knowledge that we might, if you break it, you can get caught, that there's actual consequences, maybe people will just, do the right thing and keep everybody safe. We really are looking for that goal. Although I got to tell you, we put up videos on all our social media platforms, and there was an overwhelming trend of this is a cash grab. Well, I have yet to get a free toaster. No one sent me to Maui for free. There's no quotas, and the money doesn't go to the police service; it goes to the province, and as well as a victim fine surcharge that goes for a fund for victims of crime.
Nobody believes you when you say there isn't a quota,
I know,
because we believe that if you come in day after day after day and you haven't written a ticket, they're going to ask you if you're doing your job.
Well, that's a different story. Whether you work at McDonald's or you work for the Bank of Canada, doing your job is a requirement. Doing nothing is not an option. But if I go out and I write a few tickets and one becomes an investigation into something else, and I can justify my time somehow, it doesn't matter if it was tickets or warnings or investigations into insurance, as long as I'm doing something and it's not hitting a number as the goal.
All right, so here is Kevin from Streetsville. What's your question, Kevin?
Morning. My question is, you're traveling on a two-lane road, 80K road. It's in the country, and the driver ahead of me, he indicates that he wants to turn left. We put the signal on, and he comes to where he needs to make his turn, but he has to wait for opposing traffic to clear. My question is, can I pass on the shoulder so that I don't have to wait with him?
No, you can't. You can't pass off-road. You can't go onto the shoulder. There's specific areas where you can do that, and they've given a cutout, but going onto the shoulder is not permissible. It's passing on the right.
If there's two lanes, obviously.
If it's 4 lanes in total, but if it's a 1 lane in either direction, you can't.
All right, thanks for the call. Sean, percentage of drivers that out in the countryside, like he's talking about, would sit there and wait as opposed to go on the shoulder and keep going.
Yeah, I couldn't estimate that. That's not our style of policing in terms of country stuff. I'm sure it would be low. Yeah, I believe it.
All right.
What wasn't low was the number of people we arrested for impaired operation during the Easter long weekend. We just got the stats out. It was 32 people were arrested for impaired operation that weekend.
We've had this question before, but I think it's an important one. Do I have to take the first tow truck on the scene, or can I wait on the tow truck I called?
You do not have to take the first one. It's up to you who tows your vehicle, unless it's a police officer getting involved. If a police officer directs you to take the tow truck that's there because we have to clear the road for safety, that's a different situation. Then you have to take the direction of the police officer. Or if you're transported or arrested, then it's going to be our choice as to who tows. But you do not have to. You can wait for CAA as long as it's not an issue.
Here's Steve from Toronto. Steve, go ahead with your question.
I was just wondering, so earlier a caller asked about pushing the buttons on your big display screen in your car. Well, what if I have my cell phone mounted in a hands-free mount on my dashboard? Can I push the buttons 1 inch higher than on the screen of my cell phone? Or legally?
So
The same as I would push the buttons 1 inch lower on the screen on my dash?
no, you can't interact with your cell phone other than to access to answer a phone call or end a phone call with a single button swipe. That falls into the category of handheld communication device, and I appreciate what you're saying. It's very similar, and yet not. You can still get a charge for careless driving by playing with your air conditioning if you're all over the road. The issue is that your cell phone, for limited access to simply answer or hang up, is acceptable as long as it's mounted. When you start getting into typing an email to mom or going through your menus and playing around, that's a problem.
All right, thanks very much for your call. See, it's interesting what people believe, because you just answered the question about the tow truck, and here's a person who writes, the cops are paid off by the tow truck drivers. What a joke.
Well, no. Again, you have your choice of tow truck companies unless your vehicle's blocking a road and we're saying for safety we need to get you out of there, and then we're going to direct you. And it's going to be a contract tow that is approved by the service, and it's going to be something with some urgency. If it's safe to leave you there, I'll let you choose whoever you want.
All right, so here's the deal with that, I think, Sean, and that is that the tow truck operations are a large collection of humans, and so are police forces. We have had major investigations and stories about corruption within the tow truck industry, and to imagine that every single police officer is above corruption would be ridiculous. That goes against human nature. So there may have been a situation where some tow truck drivers and some police officers or an officer were in collusion, but generally speaking, that's not what's happening.
Yeah, we've heard, and it's been all over the news, where there were some issues, and as a result of those issues, there have been policies changed by different police services as to how they're going to deal with towing in the future to prevent it. For us, it's really simple. We call for a contract tow. That's an approved vendor for this. That's agreed on meeting certain rates and service requirements. They come and they do it. So if we order it, it's got to be them. Otherwise, if someone's arrived on scene and it's not an issue and the customer wants to make their own, the person involved in the collision per se, they make their own arrangements with the tow operator. It's nothing to do with us.
All right, so here's a pretty curious one. I want to make a left turn on a two-way street. There's nobody oncoming. Traffic is behind me. Can I pull over into the oncoming lane in order to allow the people behind me to move on?
So if there's no turning lane, then no, you can't turn into oncoming traffic. I mean, if there's nobody there, why don't you just make your turn? But if it's, well,
he's slowing down probably.
That doesn't sound like a safe practice. And although technically you could cross the line because there's no law saying you can't. That being said, you're going to confuse everybody. Drivers do things expecting certain behavior from other drivers, and when you do things like drive into oncoming traffic, that's going to send some alarm bells, and you may get negative responses.
Sean Shapiro is on TikTok at Traffic Services. Joins us from time to time. Thanks for doing this.
Always a pleasure.
All right, you need a passport real quick? That might be a problem. We'll take that on.
All right. They are always a blast to spend time with. We're going to say goodbye to News Talk 1010, and we'll see them again real soon. I'm going to turn on our Instagram connection. Give me a moment, because in 1 minute, Instagram is going to be part of our future. Well, it's not really part of our future. It's part of our past. No, it's something we do. Okay. Hitting the live button on let's make sure we have an internet connection that works. It's always a good thing to do, I think. Yeah, it seems to be working. Okay. Tickety talk. Let's go. The 2-second regrouping, and we're going to go live there. Live.
You mean Instagram?
What did I say? Tickety talk? I interchange the two, even though Instagram doesn't love me. Checking connection and going live. Okay. Apparently, we're telling your friends that you started a live video. Very cool. Tick Kika Talk says, good morning, sunshines. Good morning. Okay. We got a bunch of stuff. You know what? This is terrible. I got sucked into the chat. I looked in the chat and now I'm reading it. No, I got to get out of here. Into the Q&A I go. All those questions I thought I was going to ask. Okay, so to answer the 1,000-watt e-bike question, can I ride a 1,000-watt e-bike? The answer is no, you may not, at least not on the road, not in a park, not anywhere where bicycles are permitted. It has to be private property because a 1,000-watt e-bike is a motorcycle, and it requires license ownership and insurance. You see, e-bikes are actually motor vehicles, but when you conform to the regulations of legislation that legislation sets out as to what is permissible, then you can get away with using them as bicycles. But they have to meet those requirements. One of those is no more than 500 watt power engine motor thing, drivetrain, I don't know what it's called. And it has to have the ability, or it cannot have the ability of exceeding 32 kilometers an hour. And those are only two. There's a whole bunch more if you go and read up on them online. Okay. Super hot on Instagram. Let me see if, really, it's interesting. Okay. We never know why things go. I'm going to dump down the audio a little bit on Instagram, see if that makes it better. Let me see if that, well, the plosives are plosives. I can't help those sometimes. Can we remove our stickers for our car? The answer is, if you're renewed and up to date, you don't require the sticker anymore. I wouldn't be in a rush to get rid of it. If it's valid until December, leave it till December. Can't hurt. But if you really like the look of your plate and it's valid and you have a receipt of it, I'm sure you're okay. Now, I would also suggest renewing now. Get it out of the way. And I should take my own advice because I haven't renewed mine, even though I'm valid for a number of months yet. I should get ahead of it and renew for 2 years for free because that's what you can do. I want to just go and see because we have some stuff to talk about. Okay. Let's talk about this first. Vision Zero Enforcement Team. We talk about it every day. We have a team of dedicated officers that go out throughout the city, or I should say, go into specific areas and focus on those areas every day to help those communities stay safe. So how do we choose those areas? Where should we go and why do we do what we do? Well, the answer is big brain people look at the numbers, look at the collisions and the offenses that are taking place and determine corridors where collisions are higher and need our attention. So based on those analytics, they send our officers to different areas. They focus on those areas for a day at a time and try and change behavior. You never know where they're going to go? Well, that's not true. We announce it every day on our Twitter and Instagram accounts and Facebook accounts. You can check that out at 7 a.m. on our Twitter account at Traffic Services. And let me tell you where we are today. Vision Zero enforcement officers are focused on the 14 Division and 33 Division. Those are the communities of Christie, Ossington, Annex, Trinity Bellwoods, Park Woods, Donalda, Banbury Don Mills, and Bridle Path. Those are just some of the many neighborhoods that are serviced by those divisions. And that's not to say that the divisional officers there aren't already doing great work. We're just helping them do more of a good thing. Q wants you to boop the snoop and share the live. Yes, if you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok, please share. We've had 6 people on TikTok who have shared the live with their friends and family and people they care about, because that reference, that referral is valuable. We appreciate it. We're trying to keep the roads safe, and your endorsement goes a long way. Just tapping the screen till your fingers go numb also helps. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on any of the other platforms, please share it on your socials. We'd really appreciate it. YouTube is hopping this morning. We got a lot of people on YouTube watching. Pro Football Craze says, as someone who lives in the country, everyone pulls into the oncoming traffic lane to let others pass. Really? That's a common practice? That's impressive. Impressive or scary, but it's not something we'd endorse. I've never seen it done though. Why wouldn't you just turn? Okay. What is this? Oh, Austinator Reed wants to know, I heard if cops pull over a person that there's a paycheck for giving them a ticket. No, we don't get any bonuses. There's no personal benefit other than knowing that we've done something to make the roads safer by trying to change driver behavior, one ticket at a time. Can G1 drivers drive on the highway? The answer is no, you cannot. You can only drive on the highway if you're accompanied by a licensed instructor, not mom with a supervising ability with a full G license and 4 years experience. That's just a supervising driver, and we're talking about a licensed professional driving instructor. Then a G1 driver can go on the highway. Otherwise, cannot. Okay. Consequences for G1 while G is teaching in accident? You're still responsible as the driver if you get into a collision while being supervised. So the consequences are you'd be charged for whatever you did. But there's no G1 special ticket for becoming involved in a collision. By the way, Q is the, you said turn it down a little more? Okay, we can adjust the audio a little more. We don't know why the audio is acting odd on Instagram. Instagram's always a crapshoot. We're always wondering what's going to happen. Hello from Vancouver. Hello, Vancouver. How you doing? Okay. Alan says, good morning, Sean and moderators. Happy Wednesday. Good morning to you. Glad you made it. Okay. We are looking for questions. Hey, here's a question for you. Have you got anybody you think we should be interviewing on our show? Because we have a podcast now. If you haven't checked it out, it's called TPS Traffic Jam, where we jam about traffic. The first 2 episodes were with our friends from TIRF, the Traffic Injury Research Foundation. They are some magical people who research and give us great stats and information about trends and safety issues. So you should check out their website, turf.ca, but check out our first and second episodes of Traffic Jam. The third episode, which just went out yesterday, is with Erin Urquhart. She's a parking enforcement officer, and she's a media relations officer and works with me on a regular basis. So if you want to hear that episode, you can hear it. But if you have an idea for someone that you think should be on our show, on our podcast, let us know, because we'd love to hear from people who are involved in traffic safety and other interesting stuff involving traffic safety and policing. Let us know, because I'd like to hear from you. You can DM me. You can also email at trafficsafetyprograms@torontopolice.on.ca. We have a question about, let's see here. Oh, here we go. This is the alcohol question we talked about earlier. Can alcohol be in the back seat if it's in a sealed package? The answer is yes. If it's now not sealed package, but sealed from factory. The actual bottle must be sealed, and then it can be essentially anywhere. You could have a bottle of alcohol sealed from factory, and same thing goes for marijuana. If you purchased legally obtained marijuana, it was sealed from factory, it could be in arm's reach of the driver. If, however, it's being broken, the seal is broken, it's no longer brand new, then it has to be out of reach, and the best place to transport that would be your trunk. If you're going to be asking questions, please use the Q&A function. That is the bubble with the question mark, and then I will see it. If you're just chatting, know that the moderators, who are a magical group of folks who come in and volunteer their time on a regular basis, they will answer your question in the chat if they're there to be answering. If they're there and they know the answer. If they don't know the answer, they will forward your question to me. But best thing to do is just use the Q&A function.
Speaking of moderators. Did you have breakfast today?
Did I have breakfast today?
Yeah, there's a lot of sandwiches.
Oh, this is Q's not so direct way of saying there's a lot of spam. There's a lot of people who are spamming the chat. So please don't. I don't actually see it. So if you're trying to annoy me, I don't actually see it. But if you're trying to annoy them, you're doing a good job. And you're also annoying the community who just want to have their questions answered. Yeah. Please don't. And ultimately, moderators will ask you to leave. They'll ban you from the live for today. You'll be able to come back another day, but for today, you'll be muted. Does the OPP have detective positions? I don't work for the OPP. I work for the Toronto Police Service, and I believe that that they do have detective positions, but I don't have details as to how their structure works. They have people that are investigative, obviously, and I would assume that their rank is detective. They have a slightly different rank structure, I believe. Or maybe that's the RCMP. Maybe I'm conflating the two. Okay. What's a call I will never forget? I'm going to avoid. I've got a bunch of calls that I will never forget, and I've talked about them in the past, and I don't think I'm in the headspace to talk about them today, because generally the ones I don't forget are really emotional, and I'm not going to go there today. But we'll do another day. Maybe we'll do a podcast where I talk about some of the more emotional calls. But there's a lot of tough ones. We see a lot of hard stuff, a lot of difficult things. We see people at their worst. Sometimes we're there for good stuff, but very often we're there for bad stuff. Okay. What is this? G1 expired during COVID time. Can I go for my G2? Yes, if it expired after March 1st, 2020, you are covered right up until the end of this year, December 31st, 2022. You might want to get on that and get it done before you expire. Otherwise, you just start over again. And James McDonald would like to see interview with a commercial compliance officer would be pretty good. If you mean commercial compliance, if you mean by that a commercial motor vehicle officer, we've been talking to our office downstairs to arrange that. So yeah, that's in the works. But a good suggestion. Let's see here. Wakanda wants to know, why are police so active in the city around 2 a.m.? We're active in the city 24/7. Our vehicles never stop rolling. Okay.
What happens when a speed camera catches a cop car?
When a speed camera catches a police car, if we're in the lawful execution of our duties, if we can justify why we're exceeding the speed limit, then not much. If it's a situation where we are speeding and we're doing it for no reason, we could be documented. It's investigated at very least. But generally speaking, when I've been asked about traffic or speed measurement, what's the answer? If it's speeding in general, we are exempt from speeding. Police are permitted to, in the lawful execution of their duties, exceed the speed limit. So the difference is when it's all caught on camera, we're formally filing a report and justifying our existence as to why we did what we did. No different than if we were doing anything else. Our vehicles are also all tracked. So if we drive anywhere, dispatch knows where we are, and they know how fast we're going. Is it true Ontario is bumping up the highway speed in certain areas? I think we covered this earlier. So certain areas of highways are being raised to 110 kilometers an hour. From what I understand, those areas are different than other areas, and they're safer for whatever reason. They were constructed with that speed in mind. So I think it's a 16 kilometer stretch on the 404 where you can do 110. At the end of the day, whatever the speed limit is, that's what we enforce. And when we say don't speed, don't go over the posted speed limit. How does the new plate sticker law work? You have to renew online. It's free. You have to supply whatever information they request on there. And we are able to check the status of your license plate with our computer systems. If it's not valid, you still get a ticket. If you don't renew, you still get a ticket. The difference is we have to do a couple of keystrokes instead of just looking at your sticker. Okay. What is this? Are unopened road allowances legal to drive on? If a road is not a road, if it's not a road policed, and it's private property. And if it's private property, as long as you're lawfully there with permission from the owner, you can drive on there. But the Highway Traffic Act covers roads, not private property. At least not for all offenses. Stunt driving is covered on private property. So if that was a private road, you couldn't stunt drive on it. You couldn't drift on it or do burnouts or donuts. That would still be stunt driving, and that would still fall under the jurisdiction of police to lay charges.
Underglow.
Oh my goodness. Underglow. Is it legal? Should you have it? And are the 80s coming back? The 80s should stay in the 80s. The deal with underglow is if it's properly installed so that the light is projected downwards instead of forward, sideways, or back, then you should be fine. I would stay away from any blinking lights. I would stay away from blue, red, or green because those are restricted colors. The problem really is when light bulbs are visible and the light is being projected forward or backwards in areas that have restrictions as to what color can be projected. For instance, headlights can only be white or yellow. You start doing, strobes or purple or what have you, that's going to be improper headlights, and that's going to be a ticket. Can cops search a car without consent during a stop? It depends on the situation. Simply stopping you for no reason and searching your vehicle without consent, no. But if there's things in plain view, there are reasons to investigate. If there's a smell of alcohol or there's a belief that there's alcohol in the area, there has to be a reason for the stop, and it has to be justified in law. So for no reason, without consent, no. For a justified reason based in law, then yes. Especially subject to arrest or if your vehicle's being towed if it's being impounded, then there's a search for inventory. But that's a different story.
We were talking about headlights before and taillights. Can we tint them?
No, you may not tint your headlights and taillights. That would be changing the way they work. First of all, covering them or tinting them is specifically illegal for headlights. At the end of the day, they have to be yellow or white light projected. If you put a tint on it, it's no longer the case. If you make them no longer functional at the rate to the level that they have to be functioning at, that's a problem. For the rear, again, discernible at a certain distance. If you reduce the light, not only is it dangerous because you're making it harder for people to see what you're doing, whether it be signaling, braking, or just being there, it's going to make you more responsible for collisions when they occur. You could be hit from the back, but if your taillights aren't working properly, we call that a clue when we look at them and see tint. So don't do it. It can look cool when it's not driven on the road, like towed places, but if it's going to be driven, make sure it's safe. Is tint from out of province allowed here? If the tint is legal here and not so dark that it's considered unsafe, then yes. If it's considered unsafe vehicles can't operate on our roads regardless of where they're registered. So if you've got 5% tint, only 5% of light gets through, that's something that we would pull you off the road for. We wouldn't allow you to drive here. If you have windshield tint, that's not legal here. You can't have it here, period. It's an unsafe vehicle for the road, and it shouldn't be allowed anywhere. So the answer is no. Crossing a solid yellow line, is it illegal? No. Is it unsafe? It's less safe than listening to the suggestion of a solid line, which suggests you not cross. So you can cross without getting a ticket, unless, however, you cause an issue. You cause an issue, you may find yourself being charged for that issue, not the line. Ryan Pin says, he's answering, okay. We have a hello from I can't pronounce your username, but for Twitch, hello. How you doing? Okay. Is making a left turn on a red into a one-way legal? Only in one situation. You have to be on a one-way turning onto a one-way, at which point you can make a left turn after coming to a complete stop and making sure it's safe to do so. But that's a left turn from a one-way onto another one-way, and it has to be obviously not signed otherwise. If there was a sign prohibiting the turn, then you couldn't do it. Boy, no spaces is hard. Am I allowed to drive in Ontario with a Quebec probationary? You can have a look at how that text looks and tell me if I did a good job. The answer is that if it's a probationary where you're allowed to drive alone in your province, as opposed to a learner's permit which requires supervision, then yes. The equivalent of a G1 is only available for use in your province, and a probationary where you can drive alone with the equivalent of a G2 can be used anywhere. You can drive into the States with that, in fact, but you must follow your conditions. Can a cop pull over a cop for a cup of coffee? Can a cop pull over a cop for a cup of coffee? I don't understand where you're going. Do you mean, can I pull over a friend and say, hey, want a Timmy's? Maybe. I don't know what you mean. But for drinking a cup of coffee, that's a different story. Coffee, you can consume drinks that are legal to consume. Like you can't have a beer, obviously, but if you were drinking water, you're allowed to drink water or non-alcoholic beverages. It's a cute question. Okay, Jason Nathanson says, are personal truck trailers subject to commercial motor vehicle inspection and enforcement? Just because it's not a commercial item, it's still subject to stops for safety. So we had a vehicle not too long ago that was, it had broken at the side of the road, and it turns out they had overloaded it. So you're still subject to being checked for safety, because it still has to be safe. But is it a commercial thing, a trailer? I don't know what makes it commercial. Honestly, I'd have to ask the commercial guys what would make a trailer commercial. Because if you're towing a camper, it's not commercial. But if it's we got to check with somebody who knows the answer to this question, because it's not me. Let's see here. Are dogs allowed in the box of a truck? There's some issues with it. So we had so many conversations with it, and the answer escapes me. Why did I choose this question to answer right now without phoning a friend? I'm going to say it's not safe. Don't do it. Obviously, people can't go into the box of the truck. You might be ejecting your dog outside. I'm going to say it's an insecure load at very least. So I'm going to say it's not legal. That's going to be a guess right now. I've probably answered this a dozen times, and I may have answered it differently before, but I'm sticking with insecure load. You can't control whether the dog gets loose or jumps out, so it's not safe. Don't do it. We'll go with that. I'm gonna double down and look into it, because I want to get a definitive answer. Look into dog. At the end of the day, where should an animal be? Should be crated in the back of your... Now, if you crate the vehicle, crate the dog in the back, I think it's okay. But at the end of the day, because we have SUVs for our... now, it's not open, but we do have people who transport dogs as part of the canine units in the back with a proper housing to be sure that they're safe, because in the event of a collision, they're going to get tossed. It's going to be bad. Okay, we're going to get off the whole dog thing. James McDonald says 4,500 kilos. So I guess it's Oh, James says, I wouldn't cross the scales with a personal trailer unless registered for over 4,600, New Brunswick, 4,500 kilos. Okay, yeah, we're talking, we're going to do an episode with commercial motor vehicle officers because they are the folks who are up to date and in the know when it comes to commercial vehicles. And today's not the day for me when it comes to that the subject matter. Either that section of my brain is turned off if I know it, but I don't know it today. Okay, what's the fine for riding an e-kick scooter in Toronto? I believe it's $60. I'm unsure if it's $60, but I believe it's $60. At the end of the day, e-kick scooters are not permitted in the city of Toronto, and they are there is a provincial pilot, but each municipality had to adopt it, and we haven't. Boom, boom, boom. Is it legal for bicycles to run up the side? I've never seen bicycles run. No, I don't know what your question is, honestly. So let me know. So thankfully, Q looked it up for me so I could definitively give an answer regarding dogs in the back. Insecure load. So that was what I was suggesting. No dog should be loose in the back of a truck. No animal should be loose in the back box of a pickup truck. So it is insecure load. But again, you don't. It's just for safety or caring for your animal. You shouldn't do that. Okay, I said I was not going back on the dog thing, but I did. Dog in lap. There was a question about that. If I teach my dog to drive, will my dog go to jail or will I? And Q and a couple of people jumped into the answer. The deal is you cannot have your dog in your lap. It is careless driving and or driving while crowded. Both are offenses under the Highway Traffic Act, and you're eligible for them. Keep your dogs in the back seat where it's safe, and they should be tethered and or crated. I want to become a police officer, Bella says, and that's good because we're hiring right now. www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers for more information about all the magical positions that we are currently hiring for. Oh, by the way, hi, Emma. And Q just put the... she did not throw it up on screen. I am hitting the button to place it on screen. But there you go. tps.on.ca/careers. All the details you need to find out what's required in order to join and become a member of our team. We're looking for all sorts of different positions, both civilian and uniform. Elbow is itchy. Yes. I don't know what it's a scratchy thing. Okay. I wasn't putting my hand up to ask a question. Okay. Here we go. What is the question? When an officer is in an intersection, lights sign. I don't know what you mean. Okay, we got a couple. Bella's asking the same question a couple times here. I want to be a police officer. I can't make it. You got to look it up. Logan, my friend from Safe Communities, who thought I was not paying attention to him, even though I acknowledged him. I want to know. I want you to know. I'm paying attention to you, brother. What is Logan saying today? Is there a message, or are you just saying hey?
He just said hey.
He said hey.
Morning from Brooks. Hope you guys are well.
When is he jumping in our live? Is the real question. Is he working right now?
He can't from that account, sir.
Okay, I see how it is. Actually, we have this magical. It won't work, I guess, for this one, but we have the ability of bringing people in with any number of followers as long as they're not in Canada, because Canada has different rules than the States. But we have the ability to have people who have any follower count as long as they're in the States. So if you're watching,
working.
Oh, you are working. Okay. Let us see here. Can you get a ticket for a cracked windshield? Yes, you can, because you have to have you can't obscure your view. So tickets, it is unsafe, and you can receive a ticket. Your vehicle can be considered unsafe with a broken windshield. Get it fixed or get it replaced. Can I turn videos of distracted drivers into send? The deal is you can, but it doesn't mean that we can get a conviction based on that. So we need a number of things in order to use video for evidence. We need to have a time, date, location, and be able to identify the vehicle and driver. That's a lot of information to be able to obtain and it doesn't always work out. But you can certainly send it to us. I think that's great. You can put in complaints about vehicles on our core page. That's www.torontopolice.on.ca/CORE. And when you use that, you can go into the specific complaint, driver or vehicle complaint. So there you go. Chat questions get answered in the chat, and if they don't have the answers, they will forward it to me. Just so you know. And if you want to ask me a question, use the Q&A function. What do we got here? Miss Galactic, we can't go live with you. We don't know who you are, but thanks for the invitation. What is this? Did Ontario pass a law for mandatory safety checks? I don't think that's actually happened yet, although there are discussions, and there's a lot of vehicles that need that on a regular basis. A lot of people with illegal accessories might be unhappy with that. Is it legal to ride a bicycle or e-bike on the highway? Now, it depends on what you mean by highway, because any road in Ontario is a highway. Highway Traffic Act doesn't only deal with expressways, which is what a lot of people call highways. So it depends on what you mean. So it can't go on the Highway 404, like 400 series highways. It can't go on the Don Valley Parkway or the Gardner Expressway, but you can ride an e-bike or bicycle on the road. Now, you obviously have to comply with safety requirements if you're doing that, and but that's about it. I think I covered that. Let's see here. How can I safely shake off tailgaters? Why don't you get out of the way? Pull over to the next lane if available, and so you can safely do that, and let the bozo pass you, because obviously they're more important than everybody else. It's terrible. Tailgating is something that I happily would write a ticket for, but the truth is that there's no point in trying to convey a message and try and promote safety with these folks. They just don't understand. So if you pull over to the next lane so they can get out of the way. Now, if they follow you and they're really they're targeting you, that could be a road safety situation that you may want to call police for. That might be aggressive driving at its best, where we start talking about road rage, where that's a different story. But if it's just a matter of they're too close, change lanes. Let them move on. You don't want to be anywhere near a dangerous driver like that. What do we got here? Question coming in from LinkedIn. It's Andrew, and he says, if I'm biking, does a driver have to give me my own lane? It's a good question, Andrew. And the answer is they have to give you a meter. It's a 1 meter rule. Now, if you're riding on the road, you should stay to the right of the lane, and the driver who's passing you should give you a meter. Now, if you cannot stay to the right, you are entitled to go into the whole lane, as long as you can maintain the flow of traffic, or that you're simply passing an obstruction. So it depends. It's not as simple as that. You're entitled to a lane in most situations, but you are supposed to stay to the right, and they have to give you a minimum of a meter. Hang on one second. Okay. The question was, are you using the phone microphone or a separate microphone? And the answer is, I'm using a Shure SM7B microphone that's going through a Zoom PodTrack P8, and that is connected to all sorts of stuff. In fact, the Zoom P8 is going out into a Ceramonic Smart Rig Plus that is feeding into the Instagram, and I'm also connected into a computer, which is feeding our YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, etc., a whole bunch of places. So we're using a bunch of different things. And when I connect with folks here, there's a Shure MV7 as a second mic that's connected to this mixer. So lots of different things going on. But thanks for asking. We don't get to talk about tech nearly enough. If you have questions about technology, about what we do here, how we do it, happy to talk about those things. Happy
Parking
to.
TPS.
Parking TPS. Hi, Parking TPS. I can see Aaron from here, so we waved. That's what I just did. Parking ticket for obstructing traffic affects insurance? No, parking offenses don't affect insurance. However, there are very often charges under the Highway Traffic Act that police officers can lay that do, impact things differently. At the end of the day, don't break the law. Doesn't matter whether it's a parking law or otherwise. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, but parking offenses are not driving offenses. Can I put my plate on my dash so I don't make holes and boo-boos in my bumper? As I make fun of this whole concept of bumpers so if your vehicle is licensed for Ontario, you have to display your front plate. I don't know why people have issues making little itty-bitty holes to that big important thing on the front, but the deal is that you must display it on the front of the vehicle. Now, I will tell you that it's an acceptable alternative. It's called a tow hook adapter. I think those work great. It still meets the requirements as far as I can tell, but your front windshield is not the front of your vehicle. It's not the conspicuous place that it must be, and you can get a ticket. Not only that, your license plate can be dislodged from wherever you've jammed it in on your front dash, and it could become a projectile in your vehicle in the event of a collision. So it's not only illegal, it is dangerous. Ryan Pin says there's a boom mic operator off screen that is helping to raise and lower this microphone. Yes, it's a union gig. Can you show your setup? Yes, and if you go onto VoiceOver Cop on Instagram, you can actually see pictures that I've posted in the past. Right now, my desk is covered in paper and a few accessories. Let me show. Sure, I have a. Something I 3D printed. That's one thing littering my desk, and a little funk. Is it a Funk Popo? Paco? I don't know what it is, but it's an Optimus Prime. Funko Pop. Thank you. I have an Optimus Prime Funko Pop because I did a video a while ago where I said Autobots roll out, and ever since then I've had a whole Optimus Prime thing going on my desk. So. Yeah, there you go. But check out VoiceOver Cop. That's my Instagram. It's also my Twitter and my personal TikTok. So if you want more tech stuff, we put it out there. My 2-year-old grandson loves stop sign behind you. That one. The stop sign behind me is actually on corrugated plastic as opposed to metal, but it is cool, and it's being held up by thumbtacks right now. Unfortunately, he can't have it, but you might be able to get one. I don't know where you get one. This was from our trade show booth.
The delivery place.
The delivery place? Oh, okay. What to do at a red light with emergency car behind you? What do you mean? Do you mean that if a police officer is pulling you over, you pull over to the nearest curb or edge of roadway? I don't know what you mean by the question. I'm speculating. Okay. Ooh, what do we have here? What 3D printer do you have? This is really off topic. I have 3 or 4 printers. This one is an Anycubic resin printer, but I haven't done nearly enough with it. I don't have a lot of. I have a lot of projects and plans and not a lot of time. Yes, Ryan Pin says, I thought there was a dog there with Sean for a second. No, that might be Q's dog, Pixel, who I think has their own TikTok account.
Yeah, she does.
What do you consider an inspiration in your career? I've met some very inspirational members of the service, but my inspiration of becoming a police officer was twofold. One, my grandfather was a law-abiding, righteous guy who was in the military, and I looked up to him. I have my dad's cousin who was a police officer, an FBI agent, and he was an inspiration. And finally, I think the final push was a school resource officer that really made an impact when I was in high school. But all in all, I knew I wanted to. Oh, and of course, Chips. Actually, you know what? Forget all those other people. Nothing. Chips was the motivation. I wanted to be a motor cop. They were all motivations. Let's see here. Have you ever targeted vehicles based on looks? No, I can't say that I have. Vehicles that are violators, vehicles that are breaking the law, absolutely target those because I look for things I can write tickets for, not things that are fashion issues or taste based. I may not like the idea of a big whale tail that you got on Amazon, but that doesn't mean I'm going to write you a ticket unless it's flopping around. But it is an interesting question. No, I look for my focus is speed and distraction. Like if you're using your cell phone, so I could care less what you're driving. If you're distracted, you're distracted. If an ambulance is behind you at a red light, what to do is what I assume what you're asking. Generally speaking, if they're behind you at a red light, they're going to wait until the light goes green before activating their stuff. If they're going to, because it's a real hot mess and they got to go, move to the right. If you can't move to the right because you're at the light, make the right turn if you're the first vehicle and get out of their way. But it's unlikely that they're going to, from a stop position at a red light, put anyone in that situation. And if they are approaching a pack of stopped vehicles, they're going to use oncoming traffic and go around to avoid confusing everyone, because that's exactly what happens when the lights go on. Do you want a microphone? You're listening in just to listen?
If you want to put, no, it's just if someone has a question.
Oh, well, Aaron has decided to join us.
I ran over here when I saw a question in the chat, but it wasn't in the Q&A. So
oh, what was the question?
It was like the common, can I park in a paid parking spot if I'm doing DoorDash? In a green P paid parking spot, yes, you can. As long as you have a sign saying that you are on delivery, you get 10 minutes.
Is that green P on the road or green P on a green P lot?
On the street. On street only.
So it's always important to clarify because I know how people twist our words.
Yeah, and some people, someone asked, I think on the last live, like, or someone parked in my driveway to do a delivery, and I was
That's not okay,
no,
man.
Not.
No, private property, stay off private.
But anyways, I'm
people's
here
driveway.
if anyone has a parking.
If you got a parking question, ask for the parking people. Aaron Urquhart, who is TPS_Bikehart, and a media officer for the parking unit, which is Parking TPS. That's their handle everywhere.
Yes.
Is it illegal to eat while driving? That is the question, and the answer is: don't have a 3-course meal. It's not safe, and you can be charged for careless driving, but it's not specifically illegal. It doesn't say thou shalt not eat sandwiches while driving. But if it affects your ability to drive safely, then you could be stopped and charged. If you talk to my friend Scott Marshall, who I'll be speaking with after this live concludes, in like 24 minutes, he'll tell you like a Werther's candy, load it before you drive, and don't do anything else because you need to focus on the task at hand. What is this here? How many forward-facing white lights are legal? It's a very specific question. Savage Dad, 79. Cool name. The answer is 4. You can have 4 lights with more than 300 candela of power to the front. That is it. That is all. When you start getting into more, you're actually breaking the law. In Ontario. Akela Dracona says, funny story. I noticed yesterday that I have a front plate frame. I had them remove the frame I had in the back. I think the dealership put it on the front instead. And so they took off the rear frame, the one for their company, because it's illegal. You can't have a plate frame or a plate cover in Ontario. And they just moved it to the front because they just wanted to continue to promote their company? That's ridiculous. Or did you mean that see, a lot of people don't realize that when they buy a car, sometimes the front plate mount isn't installed. It's found in the trunk, and you got to put it on yourself, which is really weird. I don't understand. This whole front plate thing confuses me. Like, why anybody cares? Why is it such a big deal to put a front plate? It's legally required. Just put the front plate on.
Maybe it's just because it's not required everywhere else. I don't know.
It's true. There are many places that don't. Here's another question from Jason Nathanson, who says, are U-turns permitted if there are no signs permitting it? No signs permitting it. Prohibiting it. Maybe you mean prohibiting it. Some streets, like St. Clair Avenue, have a permitted sign. Okay, I see where you're going with this. So the answer to the question is, U-turns are legal unless otherwise stated. So if there's a no U-turn sign, it has to be safe to do so, and unless otherwise stated. So if you approach an intersection and there's no U-turn, then you could do a U-turn there if it was safe to do so. There are some places that there's a hard no in front of bridges, viaducts, railway crossings, on blind curves where you can't see at the other end of the turn, on blind crests of grade where you can't see the other end. So you have to have visibility. So there are areas that are simply prohibited, regardless of sign, places that look safe but have a sign saying, no, thou shalt not go, and then there's the everywhere else. So if you can do it safely and there's no sign in those other places, then you're okay. And of course, the ones that say you are specifically allowed, well, hey, you're specifically allowed. It's there to reduce questions, but it obviously causes questions. What is this? Oh, there's a sidebar conversation here. Okay. Got lots of stuff going on in chat. Parking questions. Okay. Oh, this is a good way we'll promote the account there. Parking questions, ask Parking TPS or TPS_Bike how often do you go live, Aaron?
Well, I haven't gone live on my own in quite a while, but I should schedule one of those to get on live on the parking account or my account. I don't mind going on my account just because there's a little bit more reach there right now, but we'll schedule something. So
cool. Well, we're always happy to have you here.
yeah. Well, I love jumping on here.
It's good, and we work in the same office. It's
That's
wild and
right.
crazy. Let's see. Window tint, provincial or federal law. So requirements for vehicles are based in provincial law. The Highway Traffic Act is a provincial act. Every province is going to have different laws. Every state is going to have different laws. So window tint is provincial. And we haven't really. I think we talked about tint earlier. It's been a long morning. We started at 9:30, so I'm really feeling this one. I'm like, whoo, it's an hour.
Yeah, you have your water
and a half.
there?
I've gone through like two mugs of water.
Oh, that's good.
What is this? Passed a bicycle, stop at light. Bike comes up, SID. I don't know.
Does that mean like come up on the side? Is it like?
Oh, is this the
I don't know. I read that question too, and I was a little confused.
Well,
on
you
what
are
they meant.
you are a bicycle operator.
Yeah. So I don't know what the whole question is there. What is it? It says stop at red light. Bicycle comes up side. Are they asking like, is that okay? Is that legal? Like the bicycle should be stopping on the right side vehicle of a car.
Well, if they've got room to safely travel between the curb and
Yeah, they should have at least a meter.
I just spilled water everywhere.
Oh no.
Luckily, it evaporates quickly. The deal is that yes, non-caffeinated, regular grade water. It really depends on how much room there is. If they can safely travel down the side where they've got that meter of space.
Yes, if they have the meter of space. But which, like, say if they're talking about if they're stopping at a red light to make a right-hand turn and a cyclist is there, it would be smarter for the cyclist to, go onto the left side.
They don't have a right of way at that point.
No, they have to make sure it's safe to make their turn, right?
This is a complex question because there's so many ways to approach it. Technically speaking, whenever you're making a turning movement, you've got to make sure you're safe to do it. So now you've added a new element, Aaron, about what if you're making a turn as a driver. The problem is I don't exactly know where the question's coming from.
Yeah, we need more context on that question. And it also depends on the infrastructure, like if there's a bike lane there. And
then what kind of bike lane, what kind of line.
Exactly.
There's a lot going on here. Let's see here. Colored headlights illegal. Yes, you can only have yellow and white in Ontario. That is it. That is all. Here's a question. Can I use my phone at a red light in Ontario? The answer would be no. You can only use your phone while you are legally parked. Not in park, legally parked. Somewhere you could get out and leave your car legally. That's where you can use your phone. Well, it's like rapid fire. I don't know what that kind of car is. I'll have to Google it. And I was invited to go Google it, but I'm not Googling it right now. Can you get pulled over for brake checking someone? Not only can you get pulled over for it, you can be charged criminally for it. Depending on what that situation looked like, it's very, very possible you could get arrested for it because you are intentionally trying to harm someone. And depending on what was observed by a police officer, absolutely. Being pulled over is the least of your worries. You pass them, they don't stay back at the end of the line. So, okay, this is dribs and drabs about the same thing, talking about bicycles. So if you pass a bicycle and then you stop and they're still traveling, yeah, they can still pull up beside you if it's safe to do so and they can get through. This isn't I'm going to get there first because as I pass someone, they're going to forever be behind me. Yeah. If they can safely continue, then yes, that's not against the law. Maybe there's still more that I don't understand about the question that you're asking, but we'll keep going. You have to pass them again. Yes, I am seeing now a trend in your question. Mm-hmm. Yes, you may have to pass them 50 times, in fact. Bikes are subject to the rules of the road, but that is not a rule. That if they can safely traverse and filter at stopped traffic, as long as it's safe for them to do that, there's no law saying that they have to take up a lane of traffic and wait behind you.
Actually, I just wanted to add to that. Cyclists actually do have the right to take the full lane if they want to.
Well, they're supposed to stay to the right unless it's unsafe for their
exactly. Yeah,
and if they can maintain the flow of traffic, they're entitled to that full lane.
Yes, yes. And I just wanted to add to that as a cyclist, I don't know what it is. Maybe you can ask the drivers that on TikTok. Why is it, and like I'm someone in uniform with a high visibility vest, and I think it's maybe because maybe drivers are a little nervous passing cyclists, but I always find they pass me very quickly. Like they speed, like they give me room, but they speed up as they pass me.
It's probably just you.
Oh, maybe, because maybe it's other cyclists. People they're getting passed very closely.
I've seen what you're talking about, and you're right. People accelerate to make a pass quickly, and I can see the context of what this person's asking.
Yeah.
Where well, now you stop, and I got to pass you again in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I get it's frustrating, but there's nothing illegal going on, and it's not violating a rule of the road.
No.
It's a bicycle. Now, I will say bicycles have to stop at stop signs, have to stop at red lights, have to signal their intention to move, have to do things safely and so on. But continuing slowly on the side of the road as they navigate the road.
Absolutely. Seen and be seen. That's one of my favorite sayings.
We were talking about reflective, visible stuff to wear. Do you wear reflective clothing when you ride?
Yes. Well, in my uniform, and honestly, even when I'm riding in my personal leisure time, I wear like light color, especially if it's at nighttime. Like I don't want to be wearing anything dark, something with reflective stripes. But then that goes into a whole other conversation where you're like, oh, it's not the pedestrian's responsibility to be seen. And I'm like, oh, you can't win.
The bicycling and pedestrian community get very passionate about the fact that not wanting to be blamed for the outcome.
Yes,
and I can appreciate that if a driver does something wrong and they're responsible, then they're responsible. But there is a concept of like buying a lottery ticket. Are you expecting to win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket? Well, no. At least I'm not. So to me, it's the same thing. If I wear reflective clothing, I increase my odds of safety, or I increase my safety.
Absolutely.
I have a hand in ensuring I get to where I'm going safely. Doesn't mean I'm safe. It means I am improving the odds. That's all it is.
Yeah.
What is this question? Asking about main streets, not side streets. So based on what you said, people who pull over on the side street people who pull over on the street to text or talk on their phones are doing so illegally. Yes, if they are pulling over and not in a place they are legally permitted to park. So if it's a no stopping zone, they're eligible for a ticket. If it's a no standing zone, they're eligible for a ticket. If you can park there and leave your car safely and legally, you can pull over to use the phone there. So yes. And then a question about, what was this? No, there was a question I thought it was a different question. Maybe it disappeared. Can you enter and travel with one person in the diamond lanes on Bay Street if you're trying to make a right turn? So yes, you can enter that lane to make the right turn in the portion of road before the right turn. You can't continue through the intersection to the next. So obviously you signal your intention, you then make the right turn. All of it has to be done when it's safe to do so. But you would never cross from. Now, when you say diamond lane, do you mean the bicycle lane?
No, I think I know what they mean, because Bay Street, south of Bloor to College, it's like the HOV lane. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure because I haven't been outside. I haven't seen the sun in a long time. I live in this office and I don't have a frame.
We have no windows.
Yeah, truly. I walk outside and I'm like, that's what trees look like. Okay. What's the maximum loudness for a car exhaust? The answer is depends. It's 74 decibels is what the idle for a legal exhaust system is apparently, or at least according to our mechanic friend Neon. But when it comes to operating a motor vehicle on the road, unnecessary noise is the terminology because that's the charge. Anything that's unnecessary. So if you had a stock Honda Civic that is generally an egg beater, doesn't make any noise at all, but if you rev it at red line everywhere you go at 40 kilometers an hour, that's unnecessary noise and you're eligible for a charge, even though it's a stock exhaust. Behavior has a huge component, a huge part to play in the whole process. Now, if you have a defective exhaust system, there's a hole in it, and at idle, it sounds like a jet engine or a really crappy jet engine, that's illegal too. If your stereo is blaring and it's unnecessary, that's also eligible for the same charge. So it depends on what's going on. There's more to it. Ryan Pinn has a parking question. What's the difference between parking and standing?
Parking and standing. So no parking is essentially you cannot park your vehicle there, but there are a handful of exemptions, like we talked about. You are able to load and unload on side streets and no parking zones, and no standing zones are essentially just for you to pull up very briefly and to be actively engaged in picking up or dropping off a passenger. And if you want more information on that, you can go to the Parking TBS page where I literally just did a video. Well, I did on no stopping, no standing.
Literally just.
Yeah, literally just did a no stopping, no standing video. And I have lots of information on what all those mean. So go check those videos out. But essentially, yeah, no parking is a little bit more lenient. No standing is more restrictive.
Cool. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay? That was for you, I think.
Oh, for me, pineapple on pizza is criminal in my
Criminal?
opinion.
What?
So I will
Q,
tell you.
I offended Q too. Oh no.
Yeah.
I do like pineapple, but just not. I'm picky when it comes to pizza. I'm
No.
like pepperoni and cheese, maybe some Italian sausage or like hot peppers. That's it. I'm very simple when it comes to pizza.
I never really order it, but I'll eat it. It's not my favorite topping, but it doesn't offend me.
Oh, I was just kidding about it being criminal, but it's not my cup of tea.
I will always opt for provolone steak or Philly steak and onion. That would be my choice, and hot peppers. Gotta have hot peppers. Pineapple doesn't go with that mix, but I won't say no to Hawaiian slice of pizza. And I've taken to olives recently, like really liking olives now.
Oh, I'm not me.
I grew up hating olives. My mom passed away. She liked olives. I now eat olives.
Well, it just goes to show, your taste buds change throughout your lifetime, right?
I don't know.
Or
I
just
don't know. I don't know how it works. My kids like olives too, and that was not me as a kid. Can I eat while driving, though I am not distracted? Again, we've talked about this. If it's not interfering with your ability to safely operate your motor vehicle, it's not an issue. There's no law saying thou shalt not eat. However, if you're all over the road and not focused on what you're doing, it could be careless driving. I've seen people with knife and fork and stuff everywhere, and it's not okay. We talked about underglow a lot, although it's being asked again, so not specifically illegal, but might violate other rules. Check out the videos we have in the FAQ for details on that. I don't want to keep going. Ryan, at least repeating the underglow stuff because it takes up a lot of time. Ryan Pinn says, "I'm ashamed that Hawaiian pizza was actually invented in Canada." Really? Really? I didn't know that. Ryan Pinn knows stuff. Okay. And Q is questioning your friendship based on the pineapple.
I know. I saw that, and I'm like, I'm not sorry.
I'm sorry. Let's see what's going on here.
Someone keeps asking the same question. I took the liberty to Google it for you if you want to answer.
What's that?
It's about some certain car with a long front.
Oh, I think I've got a link here from Q.
Is it? Yeah, that's the picture of the cars. Let me get a better picture.
Yeah, that doesn't look safe. That looks
yeah,
like an anti.
If it's
no,
legal.
That's not going to be safe. No,
I think it's called
no.
a Bozozuko car.
There's no way that front bumper is illegal.
Yeah, they're asking because they're building one.
Yeah, don't build that.
Yeah.
If that's a show car, your trailer, great, but that shouldn't be on the road. That will take people out at their ankles in the event of a pedestrian. You can't safely even make a turn. Like, that's a ridiculous vehicle.
Yeah.
If you want to build it, trailer it everywhere, because if you get caught on the road with that, I guarantee you are going to be getting a ticket for unsafe and having your license plates pulled. There's no way that's safe. At least from where I'm sitting. And if you can find someone who will say that that's a safe, we'll have a long conversation about that. Dan 6 wants to know about U-turns. We just talked about it, it's a good topic, and we'll review it again. You can't make a U-turn if there's a sign that says you can't. You can't make a U-turn. It sounds like a Dr. Seuss thing. At a turn, at a crest of grade, in front of a tunnel, railway crossing, a bridge, did we say tunnel already? There's a whole bunch of places you can't do it. But they're ultimately responsible for everything that happens when you're in that turning motion. Viaduct, thank you. That was the one I think I missed. You can't make a U-turn where it's unsafe, and that you're responsible for everything that happens when you choose to make that turn. Looking for scrolling through. What is this? Favorite hockey team? I don't watch hockey. I know it's criminal to be Canadian and not be a hockey person, but I don't watch hockey. I hope for Toronto teams to win things, but that's as far as it goes. That's only because I'm a Toronto guy. Okay. Am I related to Ben Shapiro? No. At least I don't think so. And I have some reasons that I believe this to be true. For one thing, he has a very high voice, and that is not me. Or I should say he's high. He's higher than mine. He is not tall. I am tall. I ran into. I was in Newmarket, and we went to a shopping mall there. I ran into someone, Abdul, I believe was his name, came by very nicely and said hello. And I think I lost connection because my phone just said low battery mode, so I might be reconnecting. We might have lost TikTok.
Yeah, it paused for me. Now it's frozen.
I don't know if this is coming back. I tried to ignore the pop up. Let's see here. Well, anyway, he came by to say hello and said, "You're a lot taller in person." Oh my goodness! Yeah, it doesn't look like it's coming back.
Okay, well then let's ask some chat questions. Can motorcycles lane split?
We have chat, but they can't hear the answer.
Okay, but YouTube can.
Okay, this is good. So, what is the question?
Can motorcycles lane split?
Lane splitting is not permitted. Lane splitting is basically careless driving or stunt driving, depending on what it looks like. I'm really annoyed by the fact that we lost connection because of battery.
But it's still, it's because of battery, because I'm like, the chat, like, people are still joining.
Oh, let's see here.
It's just frozen.
We are frozen. No audio either?
I can hear
No
us
audio.
on this audio.
No audio. Okay. Maybe you can send a message to let people know that that's what's happening.
I'll post to YouTube?
Sure.
Cool.
Boy, that's annoying. And it's just totally dead. Terrible pop-up thing. It's the first time where what's it called? This Instagram works and TikTok doesn't. Yeah. We're TikTok. Let's talk pizza. It seems triggering.
Yeah, someone's like, move on. No one. I'm like, a lot of people care about pizza.
Pizza's important. Okay, let me put this on here. Technical difficulties. So, yeah, we'll put that up on screen. We don't know why the video is not working. Anyway, we're going to move on over here. Do we just keep taking the questions? We'll take the questions. We just won't put them on screen.
What's the percentage of the sun strip on 2016 and older models?
Do you know what? I would assume that's a good question. At the end of the day, I don't know. I have to look that up. I honestly don't know. We've never delved into what level of tint you're allowed. I would assume the legal limit. I would assume 30%. That's when I'm going to make an assumption. Don't quote me because I'm also saying that it's an assumption. But it's only available. It's 75 millimeters or 3 inches from the top of the windshield to the PS1 line or whatever happens first. Really, it's outside of the view. So I'm going to say it's safe to assume that, but it's you never know. Talk to your mechanic. They will have the light truck and vehicle passenger vehicle guide. I'm really annoyed by this. Okay, I'm going to try not to get hung up on the fact that it's broken. Biggest police incidents in Toronto history is one of the questions. I don't have an answer for that. Instagram, you've got 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes before you get disconnected. I'm very sorry to say goodbye, but we are limited to 1 hour on this platform, and can't do nothing about it. So if you want to continue the conversation for a few more minutes, you can jump onto our YouTube at Traffic Services Toronto Police, or alternatively, Traffic Services on Twitch, another good place. Why does Ontario have front license plates? From Usman. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name properly, but the answer is we actually, the government reviewed removing it to save money. Just as they got rid of the stickers, they said, why are we doing this? And the answer is things like Amber Alerts is a really good example as to why a front plate is important. The deal is we want to find ways to identify vehicles quickly and safely so that we don't, you literally get twice as many opportunities to identify a vehicle. That's it. And there's tons of other reasons. You know, if someone's involved in a motor vehicle collision, your vehicle is now possible to be seen by witnesses and identify that way. Emma has jumped into YouTube and says, fancy meeting y'all here. Okay, Brandon Nelson says, I got pulled over in Alberta. The officer never showed me his radar gun speed. If I fight it in court, will I win? Well, I don't know what the rules are in Alberta, unfortunately, and I can tell you that In Ontario, I don't have to show you my radar gun or my laser to show and prove to you the speed. It's not a requirement. I'm going to assume it's going to be the same thing there. But you know who you could ask? If you talk to our friends in Brooks, Alberta, they are the RCMP detachment. Their account is called Safe Communities. If you get on there, Logan, who was watching earlier before we lost connection, you could ask him that question because he has speed enforcement out there. They have lots of answers. Are those blue invisible license plates still continued in Ontario? They're not being issued anymore, but they're still legal for use.
Is it legal to make a right turn on a red when there is an advanced left turn?
Is it legal to make a right turn on red? Unless it's prohibited, it's still legal. It has to be safe to do so. You still have to come to a complete stop before doing it. Can you drive with a picture of your license in your phone, I'm assuming, or maybe you want to take a printed copy. I don't know why. The answer is no. You must surrender your actual factual piece of plastic driver's license upon demand of a police officer. It's one of those required things. Robert Holton says, we all know those speed limits are suggestions. How fast do you drive over? You don't drive over. You do the speed limit. That's the rules. Anything over could be a ticket, and you can get charged. I said it and forget it. That's the deal. Mark Megan wants to know about rules for M1. The deal is that after you get your M1, you can drive from a half an hour before sunup to a half an hour after sunset, and you can not go on roads with a speed limit over 80 kilometers an hour, no highways, no passengers, and it's good for like 70 days before you have to get your next level, your M2. And yeah, it's totally hopeless. TikTok's not coming back. It's just not happening, and we've run out of time. So I'm going to say we're gonna call it. It has been a blast despite our technical issues, and I don't understand why we're having this issue. But you know what? That'll be for my therapy session with my phone and my charger later. Have a wonder. Oh, what's an M1? Usman wants to know. That is a motorcycle learner's permit in Ontario. Is an M1. M2 is the graduated next step, and then we have a full M is a full M license. Soph wants to know about going under the speed limit. There is no posted specific number. Hey, Ray Lee, what's going on? No specific number under the speed limit that you can go. The way the law reads, for unnecessary slow driving, you must not be impeding traffic for no reason. So, yeah, if you're to the right and going under the speed limit, that's no issue. You can't be doing 40 and a 100, obviously. There's no justification for that. But it depends. Everything depends. So if you are traveling the speed limit and there are people choosing to speed beside you, you're not impeding traffic because they're speeding. They're breaking the law. Adios. Okay. Thanks for all the fish. So long and thanks for all the fish. We're doing that trilogy in 4 parts. Is that the deal? Who knows what that book is or that series of books? Tracy Fairbairn says, learners for motorcycles. Thanks for jumping in. Listen, we're totally outside and off of our regular scheduled thing. We've just completely been derailed by the fact that nothing's working. Let me just respond to text. Not just you. Just responding to a text. I never do that. All right. Have a great day, everybody. We'll be back soon because we're going to be going live. Quietly live with our friend who's a safe driver, and we're going to do a podcast episode.